Hello, everybody. Welcome along. It is Premier League predictions time. Mikey is here, but Mikey, this is bloody confusing this week because we're recording on Thursday and we've still got West Ham versus Bournemouth, Wolves v Manchester United. We don't know what happened in those games just yet because they haven't happened yet. But that's not going to stop us. It might stop you, Mikey, because it was a win for me. And to be fair, it's the FA Cup round, wasn't it? So you're here for your Premier League knowledge. But do you know what was the kicker for you? You would have beaten me had Norwich only scored once and not twice because you said 5-1 and it was 5-2. Very close, other than that.
Yeah, very close. But yeah, just another defeat for me, Ben, after driving all the way up to Portman Road to watch Ipswich against Maidstone. And I predicted a big win for Ipswich, didn't I? And we said we'd hold our hands up if Maidstone beat us. And that's
Let's
what
do
they did.
it.
So here I am holding my big hands up. Fair play to Maidstone. Yeah, fantastic
I would
result
do
for
the
you and good luck in
standing
the next round.
ovation, I promise, but no one wants to see my gut. Standing up, I'll go out of shot and all of that. But yeah, Mikey, I've talked enough about that game. I'm never, ever, ever talking about it again. Unless we win the FA Cup. That's the only thing that's going to vanquish it from my memory. Anyway, we're talking about Ipswich again, like we always do. We're going to talk about the Premier League. We've got full set of fixtures this weekend. And you can kick us off, Mikey, with Everton versus Spurs.
Yeah, Everton v Spurs is the early kickoff on Saturday, and this is an interesting fixture. Luton's huge win over Brighton has really put the cat amongst the pigeons, hasn't it? Down at the bottom, Everton are now back in the relegation places, and they've got some serious problems. Ben, James Garner was the only midfielder they had available to them, centre midfielder they had available to them the other night, and they haven't scored in their last 3 league games. But yeah, just to name some of the players that they're missing Onana, Decore, and they had Dwight McNeil playing central midfield, which I don't think anyone ever saw coming. They might have Gay back for this one. He's been playing at the Africa Cup of Nations, but has been knocked out. He might be available, and I think Sean Dyche would love to have him in that midfield and just go ultra defensive in this game against Spurs and sit back really deep and just try and frustrate them. Spurs finally got Bentancur and Maddison on the pitch at the same time the other night, and they had a fantastic 3-2 win against Brentford, where they were behind early and then came back really strong at the start of the second half. Richarlison scored again for them. So they're back into the top 4. And I think that was the first time that they'd won without Kane and Son in a league game or something like that. Or just, it was a hurdle that they had to overcome, and they've overcome it. And you actually have to go back to 2012 for the last time Spurs lost in the league at Goodison Park, which I thought was quite interesting. When they lost there, it was the same week that James Arthur won X Factor, Ben. So they'll hope that defeat is impossible on
It's
Saturday, the early
tremendous.
kickoff. As I said, I think Everton are going to go ultra defensive, and I think that they would take a draw out of this one with all of the midfielders that they've got missing, all of the key players. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw for Mikey. I thought you were teeing me up for a Tottenham win there. Just really quickly, I know we're making it about Ipswich again, but James Arthur sent a video before the Ipswich Maidstone game, having a pop at Ed Sheeran, saying that he was behind Maidstone for it. So James Arthur is actually in my crosshairs this week. But yeah, again, any reference to that game, I'm not coming out on top. Speaking of coming out on top, well, I don't know if you're playing Jedi Mind Games with me again, but you've convinced me that Tottenham are going to win this game and then knock back Tottenham. So I'm going to use your logic against you then, Mikey. I just wonder, and we can discuss it in weeks to come, did Everton peaked too early? Do you know what I mean? Did they shoot their shot?
Yeah, maybe.
And I know there's still a long way to go, still 15 rounds after this one. But yeah, Luton definitely have the momentum. So we'll go with that to continue. And is Son back? Yeah, Mikey.
No, so South Korea played Saudi Arabia in the Asia Cup, and they scored 90th minute equaliser and then won on pens. So those poor Spurs fans that were maybe cheering on Saudi Arabia were left a little bit disappointed by that one. They're probably going to go all the way now.
Okay. Even without arguably their best player, I'll go Everton 0, Spurs 1. And how about this game, Mikey? I'm not going to tee it up in any way possible, but it is the M23 creepy crawly, whatever you want to call it, derby. Brighton versus Palace.
Yeah, I've got written down my two favourite teams according to you, Ben. Brighton should be outright favourites for this one, but off the back of that defeat at Luton, and Palace had a real morale boosting win over Sheffield United, where their two young starlets, Elise and Eza, were both out on the pitch at the same time, and they linked
You
up
have to
so well.
credit
They
the
scored.
EFL anytime you mention those two players, please, Mikey. That's in the
Yeah,
contract.
absolutely. Reading and QPR, old boys, aren't they? They were both fantastic, and the quality of the goals that they scored against Sheffield United were superb as well. Palace were actually really attacking in that game. Might have been because they conceded twice, so they kind of had to come back. But yeah, the shackles are really off. They were a lot more open than they normally are. Palace also they've got Jordan Ayew back as Ghana got knocked out of the Africa Cup of Nations. Poor old Chris Hughton. Ayew is so important to them, and he just makes it such an easier game for the likes of Ezra and Elise. So much more space to run into, and he drags them up the pitch, wins so many set pieces as well. And yeah, Palace suddenly have good availability, and Brighton have got a few issues. Palace also have a half decent record at the Amex. They've won there twice under Roy Hodgson over the years, and they obviously had that famous win in the playoffs at the Amex. That was quite a long time ago now, wasn't it? I'm expecting Hodgson to go there. Palace are in a relatively comfortable position. I think he might be a little bit more attacking again, but I just think Brighton they've got that quality, and their fans will demand a response after that 4-0 win at Luton. That's going to go down as one of their worst defeats since they've been up in the Premier League, and they'll demand that they bounce back against Palace in this derby non-derby match. So for that reason, I'm going to go for a Desmond 2 draw. I'm doing a lot of score draws this week, Ben.
Okay, interesting. I'm going to push back against a couple of your theories. I think the Palace game is an outlier the other night because one of the reasons you said they conceded twice in the first 20 minutes of the first two shots, and they were at home to bottom of the league, weren't they? So
Mm.
I think they're going to revert to type. As much as I'd love to see Michael Elise and Eze ripping it up again, I wrote down as you were speaking Brighton 1, Crystal Palace 0. And I
Okay.
think Roy might run to the hills with the 6 points he's got in the last 3 games and think some more draws might work. Some draws might work for, well, no, they won't work for Burnley. They need wins. Burnley versus Fulham, the last 2 championship winners.
Yeah, so these fixtures this weekend, better the return fixtures of the games that we had just before Christmas, when there was just games constantly. And I completely forgot that Burnley went to Craven Cottage and won 2-0. And Vincent Company was hoping that was going to be a springboard for Burnley's season. Hasn't really worked out that way. They've had 1 point from their next 4 games. Um, I know that Company thinks that their performances have deserved more points. They've been a little bit unlucky in some games, but when I looked, they're 19th for goals scored and they're 19th for goals against, which suggests that they probably are in the right position at second bottom. Fulham have had a miserable 2024 so far. They're out of both cup competitions. Harry Wilson is injured. They're just not scoring many goals. Raul Jimenez had that little purple patch around Christmas time, but that's they seem to have dried up. And the last time Fulham won at Turf Moor, Ben, King George VI was still on the throne.
Okay,
So for that
I'm not very
reason,
good
I'm
with
going to go
my
1-0 Burnley.
I'm not very good with my monarchy knowledge. I did get into the Crown during lockdown, but we had time to get
Well,
into
just
a.
for context, Ben, the entire time that the late Queen Elizabeth was on the throne, they never won at Burnley, Fulham.
Okay, that maths works with even my rudimentary knowledge. Sorry, Mikey, you went 1-0
I
Fulham,
went
did you?
1-0, but no, I went 1-0 Burnley
1-0
to
Burnley. Sorry, wrong way around.
continue that run against Fulham at Turf Moor.
I think it might be a draw. I don't think Burnley are going to win, but I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, Fulham are going to show up, and kind of take them to the cleaners. Do I go 1-1? Is that too boring? It's what I feel, though. I've got to be honest and true to myself, as they would say on Love Island. Let's go 1-1. Burnley 1, Fulham 1, and move you on to Newcastle versus Luton Town. And I'm sure when we did this, I would have said the Paul Kitson derby a few weeks ago, but I'm at the age now where I repeat gags and jokes because I can't remember saying them in the first place. So I won't say it. I'll just say Newcastle Luton, Mikey.
Well, I'm reaching the age now where I'll laugh the second time and not remember the first time either.
Yeah, amen.
Both Newcastle and Luton had really uplifting midweek wins, didn't they? Newcastle, the first team in almost a year to win at Villa Park so fantastic win
Except
for
Villa.
them if you're just looking at the results. But Alexander Isak got injured. Callum Wilson is already injured, so they're back in the position where they're going to have to play Anthony Gordon in that false nine position. Although he did play it very well when he was put in that role earlier this season. He's a really good player. He's turned out to be a really good signing for Newcastle. Luton unbeaten in January in all competitions. Fair play to them. Not only getting themselves out of the relegation places, but also getting themselves to the fifth round in the FA Cup. Been really impressed with the last few weeks. They've got Sheffield United at home next, so they might have half an eye on that game, and they might be kind of looking at this one as, can we nick a point here and then follow that up with a win at against Sheffield United? That will keep us out of the relegation places. I fancy Newcastle in this one though. I don't know why, because they're missing a lot of players, but I feel like after getting that really good win the other night, I think that they'll play Luton with loads of confidence, and Luton might just be a little bit cagey because they're thinking about that Sheffield United game. So I've gone for a narrow 2-1 Newcastle win.
I mean, even if you're right, I'm just thinking about this purely from a Luton perspective. Won 3 out of their last 5. So even if they lose to Newcastle and beat Sheffield United, they're happy days, exactly. So I might match you up. Sorry, Mikey, I was looking at the form guide. What score did you go for again?
I went for 2-1 Newcastle.
Okay, let's assume Luton are going to have a slow day and get everything set, and they're not going to score. I'll take the goal out then, Mikey, and go for your complete logic. 2-0 Luton, but Luton fans watching, all set up for that Sheffield United game. And if they beat Sheffield United, and this is on, isn't it? They would, they'd be on a point per game. Oh, no, they'd just be one behind, wouldn't they? Be 22 from 23. But we think it'll be 35 rather than 38. So they're tracking for it. They're tracking for the survival. Speaking of Sheffield United, then, Mikey, they play the Villa after that disappointment for Villa at home to Newcastle.
Yeah, they do. And Sheffield United, to their credit, are starting to find the net, but they are still conceding too many goals, aren't they? Brereton Diaz and McBurney are playing together up front, and they're a real handful. And if they're together next season, they'll do a lot of damage in the Championship, won't they? Those two, big man partnership. But Brereton Diaz scored a fantastic goal. A goal that he scored so many times.
I've seen him score that goal 50 times for Blackburn.
Yeah, and it was nice to see him do it in the Premier League, wasn't it? Cutting in against Palace.
A good idea.
He's up and running.
It's a good idea, whatever league you use it in, Mikey.
Yeah, that's up here somewhere behind me, actually. So, yeah, they've got Villa at home, and Villa are missing Pau Torres. They've missed him for the last few weeks, and he's not back yet. They just don't look the same team defensively without him. He's been a really important player for them this season, especially with Tyrone Mings not playing apart from the first half of that first game of the season. But Leon Bailey looked really, really good when he came on the other night for Villa. They did have a go at Newcastle in the latter stages. Bailey looked really sharp. I imagine he'll start in this one. And every time they've lost this season, Aston Villa, they followed it up with a win without fail. and I fully expect them to do that at Bramall Lane as well. So I'm going for Sheffield United to score again, Sheffield United 1 and Aston Villa 3.
Oh, interesting. I thought you were going to say 2-1 then, which might leave a nice open door for me. Yeah, I really agree with your logic. There's just this worry, isn't it, with this whole, right, let's make some chances and score some goals and two up top in the Premier League, that if you don't get some wins quickly, even one, you know, it's almost a failed experiment, and you sort of end up reverting to maybe being a bit more pragmatic, I guess. Yeah, I think I've got both teams to score, and I think Villa are they're gonna bounce back. They've just been too consistent this year, and as much as I'm a big fan of Chris Wilder and Sheffield United, I'm looking at well under zero point 0.5 points per game. It's shaping up for a very bad total unless they can, Brereton, Diaz and McBurney can shoot them to a couple of wins, and they need to do it at Bramall Lane as well, don't they? So I think I've put in all my caveats and apologies to the Blades fans. Sheffield United 1, Villa 2, Mikey. And a very, very quick pause for the cause, because we had another £1,000 game. If you look, right, let me help you with this. I help Parkin with this. Left arm, just straight up like that, Mikey. There it is. Oh, you're out of shot. Pull it in. There you go. Thank you to the lovely people at Match Bingo. You can put it down now, Mikey. It's funny. Imagine you stood there and held it there the whole time. Yeah, £1,000 game in Liverpool, Chelsea. So we had another massive jackpot winner over on Match Bingo. Well done to all the people that played for free in Villa at Newcastle on Tuesday as well. Let's plug a couple of free games, Mikey. Bingos, as ever, is free on Saturday. That's a kind of first goal scorer game down in the lower leagues. But have a look on there. You can play Everton versus Tottenham for free on Saturday and 12:30 kickoff. Spruce that one up a little bit. There's my Bingos card, Mikey. Very problematically, you will see 3 along the top, in the middle. I have Ipswich Town on my Bingos card, which means, I never bet on Ipswich or against Ipswich or have anything to do with them. So I'll kind of file that and hope for the best. There is my Everton Spurs card as well. It's 175 quid jackpot on that one. There's actually a bonus pot if you look for the second full house on Bingos. It's going to cost you a penny, Mikey, for God's sakes. So I would normally say please play responsibly, but it's free. Get involved this week, and they will know we sent you over at Match Bingo. If you click on the QR code, just pause the video right now on your phone. Should pick that up, and you can get involved. Thanks as ever to Match Bingo. And yes, I am duty bound to actually say please play responsibly, even though I joked about it a minute ago. Make sure you do that, Mikey, and make sure you tell me about Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest. We definitely talked about this last time. The promotion decider a couple of years back in the Championship, and I suppose roles reversed. No, not really. Bournemouth about 5. I bet if we pause it, Bournemouth were. No, if it was a promotion decider, they probably would have been within 3 points, wouldn't they? Or were they? Might have been 5 points clear and took it to the last game of the season. I can't remember. Anyway, this was the game that took Bournemouth up. Big Kiefer Moore score in that game. I can't quite remember. Anyway, what's going to happen in this one, Mikey?
Yeah, and hopefully Kiefer Moore will be at Ipswich Town by the time this video is watched by most people. But who knows? Managed to get this far without speaking about deadline day, didn't we? Bournemouth play at West Ham tonight, so this is a tricky one to call. They were swept aside by Liverpool, Bournemouth, but showed their class in the FA Cup against Championship opposition in QPR and Swansea. To me, it looks like Forest's new manager bounce is potentially over. They struggled in the FA Cup against Blackpool in both legs and have been taken to a replay by Bristol City as well. And they've been beaten recently by Brentford and then Arsenal in the league as well. Awoniyi is back though, and he's so crucial for them. I know Chris Wood has been in fantastic form for Forest recently, but Awoniyi makes such a big difference for Nottingham Forest up front, and he was causing the Arsenal defenders all sorts of problems when he came on the other night, and I fully expect him to cause problems for Bournemouth as well. But we mentioned that Championship promotion decider, didn't we? And they've got a really bad record against Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest in recent years. It's 1 point from the last 7 games. So Bournemouth, I think they've won at the City Ground 3-1. No, 3-2 the last 2 times they've played there. Really entertaining games. I think the reverse fixture of this one was 1-1 last year.
I'm a
But I can
nerd,
see it.
Mikey.
There
There
we
it
are. There we
is.
have
It
it.
was a 3-point gap on the 2nd of May 2022. So roles not quite reversed, but I just wanted to know that for my own peace of mind, not even the viewers. Continue.
But yeah, they don't like playing Bournemouth, do they? And Bournemouth are an attractive team, as we say every week. I don't know how they've got on against West Ham, but I wouldn't be surprised if they've taken at least a point from that one. And because of the 3-2 earlier this season and last season and that symmetry, I'm going for another 3-2, Ben. Goals in this one, and a home win for Bournemouth.
Is that for your bonus point?
Yeah, I'll take the bonus point on that one. Yeah.
I'm asterisking. I haven't had one yet, which is wrong if I've got through 6 fixtures and not done anything silly yet. I'll go for the perfect symmetry, which I think I did last time. I've got to go for the repeat of May 2022 then and go 1-0 to Bournemouth in the home game. I agree with your logic. I think Forest will do. Well, they're actually dragged into it, aren't they? Given Luton's 3 wins in the last 5, they'll do their bidding at the City Ground, though, won't they? They've got such a sort of good atmosphere and intensity there, and I think they'll get some clean sheet wins there. But I'm backing against them. Bournemouth 1, Forest 0. Chelsea versus Wolves, Mikey.
Yeah, Chelsea were humbled at Liverpool, weren't they, in midweek? But Liverpool were in fantastic form. We'll get onto them. They've had some good recent promising signs, though. They haven't scored loads of goals, Chelsea, apart from in the Carabao Cup against Middlesbrough, of course, where everything just seemed to connect. And Nkunku came off the bench and scored at Anfield. A really nice finish from him. And he actually scored at Wolves in the previous fixture between these two teams, which was ridiculously on Christmas Eve, wasn't it? Wolves won
Yeah.
that one. Wolves won that one 2-1. That's kind of a forgotten game as well, wasn't it? Not many of us able to watch football on Christmas Eve. They'll be below Wolves at the start if the old gold beat Manchester United, which is possible, isn't it? And I just think Chelsea, they take 2 steps forward and then 1 step back. So because they took that 1 step back against Liverpool, I'm going to say that they're going to take another 2 steps forward now, starting with a 2-1 home win against Wolves.
Yeah, I agree. I watched Wolves. We did a watch along in that game that was unfortunately ruined by some idiots in the crowd fighting with each other, which we do not condone. And I find it strange that I have to say that, but we do. If we say nothing, apparently we're endorsing it, so we have to condone it. But yeah, that's not my particular soapbox for today. I just found them a bit. Yeah, exactly. I just found them a bit one-paced. I know it worked for them against West Brom, but kind of chilled out entertainer vibe, well, minus the entertainer vibe, just a bit of a chilled out vibe. And I don't think that's going to work at away at Chelsea. So I am going to go with your idea of the binary Chelsea, and we'll get the 1 as opposed to the 0 in Chelsea's binary code. In fact, let's make that the scoreline then. 1-0 to Chelsea. We'll go for some binary digits in there. And yes, very trickily now. Manchester United versus West Ham. And of course, neither of those two sides have played their Thursday night game yet. But I'm sure you were interested in Manchester United at Newport and some more drama with Marcus Rashford as well. They can't keep out of it, can they? Man U, West Ham.
Yeah, United's still so hit and miss, and they've got so many off-field issues, haven't they? One shining light though is Højlund. Seems to be becoming more of a goal threat now for Manchester United. He looks like he's going to be the talisman for them between now and the end of the season. Bruno Fernandes scored as well. He needs to really step up, and United will hope that really the season starts now. They've got through in the FA Cup, and now they need to start consistently getting good results between now and the end of the season. West Ham are still in the top 6. Ben, they've had a lot of draws recently. They're tough to beat, as as you'd expect under David Moyes. They've beaten Manchester United the last 2 times they faced them, although both of those were at home. They haven't won at Old Trafford in the league, though, since that famous Carlos Tevez goal back in 2007, which had ramifications for Sheffield United. They
Very
have
expensive goal, that one.
yeah. David Moyes has won at Old Trafford, though, returning with West Ham in the Carabao Cup a couple of years ago. I fancy them to get another positive result here. I know I don't back Manchester United to win very often. I didn't even back them to win against Newport, did I? But I'm doing it again. I'm going to say that West Ham are going to get another draw in a cagey 1-1.
Mikey loves Brighton. He loves Crystal Palace. He hates Man U. It's shocking. I jest, of course. Please don't take that comment seriously down in the comments. Do you ever look at one and think, if that was a home win, I can see that. If that was a draw, I can see that. If that was an away win, I can see that. I can see all of it. I will go with that being said, I'll just go with home advantage then. I think nothing more scientific than that. And I'm still not going to be able to pull out a bonus point worthy score here. I'll go for a pretty simplistic 2-1. Just Manchester United edging it. And this is the one, Mikey. Arsenal versus Liverpool, a gigantic game. We haven't spoken since Jurgen Klopp. Shockingly, really, I literally looked at the video of that and was checking that it wasn't AI or something. I was thinking, nah, I'm being spoofed here, before he kind of cottoned on that this is actually happening and Klopp's not going to be Liverpool manager as things stand at the end of the season. Just got the table in front of me, Mike. If Liverpool beat Arsenal, there's 15 rounds to go and they will have an 8-point lead. And then are we looking at Klopp versus Pep again for the running? Big game, this.
It's a really big game, especially for Arsenal. I think I'm putting this one down as a must-win for Arsenal if they're going to stay in this title race. Although we haven't talked about Brentford, Manchester City yet, and I'm hoping that's where your bonus point effort is going to go, Ben. But yeah, Arsenal.
Remember this game was once 4-4, so I might be playing it in this one.
Yeah, I mean, this game usually means goals. Although the previous fixture just before Christmas was a bit cagey. It was 1-1. Trent Alexander-Arnold hit the bar quite late on, and Arsenal stayed top of the league going into Christmas. But then they had a real wobble, didn't they? Real dip in form. But they, like I say, they seem to have recovered with that 5-0 win over Palace, and then the decent 2-1 win at Nottingham Forest in the week. Bukayo Saka scoring could be crucial for them. They really need to get the best out of him between now and the end of the season. Liverpool, meanwhile, that victory over Chelsea, probably their best performance of the whole season, Ben. And Conor Bradley looks like a real star. Are we going to see Trent Alexander?
I'm so pleased about that. We were bigging him up when he was at Bolton last season on loan, and we were bigging him up on the EFL show and thinking. But you think, Mikey? Sorry, I've stolen your thunder here. You think, oh, okay, he's doing great at League One. No chance he gets in that team. Just so pleased to see someone go from League One right to the top of the Premier League. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? And yeah, he looks like a real star. I wouldn't be that surprised if Jurgen Klopp puts him in at the Emirates for this game. Trent Alexander-Arnold is still coming back from injury. If he does play, maybe he'll play in midfield. They still haven't lost a game without Mo Salah since he signed either, Ben, which is quite incredible.
Where have I heard that before?
They won this game in the FA Cup a few weeks ago, although that meant that Arsenal have obviously had a little bit of a break, which might work in their favour. Arsenal absolutely battered Liverpool for periods in that game. They just couldn't score, but now they've scored 7 goals in their last 2 games. Maybe that's all about to change. I think that this game's going to really start fast. Both teams are really going to go at it, and we're going to be saying this is an absolute classic. After half an hour, it's going to be 2-2. And then I think both teams will kind of realise that losing would be an absolute disaster, whereas drawing isn't a big issue for either team. Although Arsenal, really, they should be looking at winning this one if they've got title aspirations. But I think they probably would take the draw if it meant that they weren't playing high risk football in the second half. So for that reason, I'm going for another Desmond 2-2.
I like it. As you were talking, I wrote down 3-3 and put an asterisk by it. So I was worried for a minute that you were going to say it's going to be 2-2 after 20 minutes and then both teams will score again. So do you ever meet those people who like have their tinfoil hats on and they think that all sport is like fixed, to get the highest TV revenues possible? This is the gigantic game. I don't believe that's true, but if it was true, this would end up being 3-3 and honours even, and the title race kind of rolls on. So I'll go for my bonus point. I want the big game in the Premier League to deliver, and I'll go for a massive 6 goals, 3-3 draw. Remember, Mikey was so close to calling a 6-goal game involving Liverpool this past week. So I'll see if I can go one better with the 3-3. Finally, Mikey, Brentford Man City. You sound like you're very interested in Brentford here. Is that am I reading you right?
You'll have to wait and see, Ben. It was a really good effort from Brentford away at Spurs, wasn't it? They were a little bit unlucky not to get something from that game. Mopé and Tony are looking like a decent forward partnership as well.
That is a piss boiling partnership as well, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Love it.
You've hit the bullseye there. Brentford doubled Manchester City last season, Ben.
Ridiculous.
I think kind of forgotten about that one a little bit, but yeah, they've caused real problems for Manchester City, and they've generally had good results against the big teams, haven't they? Since they've been up in the top flight. But this is the time of year where Manchester City just seems to be able to grind out results. That win over Burnley, they just swept them aside. They got it done pretty early on. And KDB is purring, and Erling Haaland finally did return. He came off the bench, didn't he, for De Bruyne in the second half, which makes you think that he's probably going to get the start at Brentford. Things didn't go his way against Brentford last season, but I think he'll be so determined to score in his return. Unfortunately, I can't look beyond a Manchester City win that puts the pressure on Liverpool and Arsenal. I'm going for Brentford 1, Manchester City 3.
Yeah. Normally, when it comes to Man City, you're brave, and then I cash in on your bravery by being totally predictable and just backing their champions with all the best players, the most money, and the best manager. But you've beaten me to it this week. I think I agree with you. I don't think you'll see De Bruyne. Watch me be wrong now. De Bruyne and Haaland actually start together and be really, really good for a couple more games. But God, when they do, it will be brutal, won't it? Brentford always give the big teams a good game at home, don't they? So I'll make it 1 goal closer than you do, and I'll say Brentford 1, Manchester City 2. So I would have Liverpool then on 52, Man City on 49, Arsenal on 47, Man City with a game in hand, ominously in the slipstream. There, those are our Premier League predictions for this week. So Mikey's gone for the bonus point. Bournemouth 3, Forest 2. He's gone for a 5-goal call. I've gone for a 6, Arsenal 3, Liverpool 3. We'd love you to get involved down there in the comments. Normal, please. Don't take it too seriously. It's just a bit of fun. We would love all 20 teams to win this week in the Premier League. That would make me so happy, Mikey. But at least 50% of the teams playing, imagine this, they're not going to win this week. Maybe even more if we get some draws, if we get all Mikey's score draws. Last word from you, Mikey?
Yeah, I think by the looks of my predictions, it's a good weekend to do the pools, Ben.
Tremendous stuff. And thank you for all your support. We've got our best numbers ever with Mikey on the show doing the FA Cup stuff. So we know what you like. Next round of the Cup, we will definitely get involved in that. And we just want you to get involved now. Get your predictions in. 10 score lines, and we'll see you next week for round 24. Now, you might see a YouTuber with millions of subscribers and views a week driving a Bentley. It's a bit more modest, I have to say, when you're covering the Championship. So if you can find a few quid each month to support over on Patreon or by hitting the join button here, you are making the world of difference for myself, Shaylee and Enid.